Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. I am excited to kick off this year diving into my top 10 tips to start 2025 strong. The beginning of a new year always feels like a blank canvas, a chance to reflect, to reset, and intentionally design the next chapter in our lives. Whether you're working on personal growth, career goals, or simply striving to live with more balance and joy, these 10 tips will help you create the momentum that you need to make this your best year yet. So grab a pen, your favorite journal, or settle into a quiet space and let's dive in. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. Happy New Year, my friend. I hope that you had an amazing time over the holidays and that you are as excited as I am for the new year. A new year always feels to me like a fresh start. Even though there's nothing magical happening on January 1st, it's all about the meaning that we give to the new year. And I'm always excited about it because, as I said, it feels like a fresh start. I always use this analogy. For me, every year is like a new book with 365 pages and 12 chapters. And I get to write my story. I get to write the book. I get to tell my own story. And that for me is super exciting. And I decide always to put a title to that book, which is my power word for the year. And then every month I put a title to every chapter, which is something that I'm focusing on that month. So I get 12 chances this year to focus on 12 different things that are going to help me by the end of the year be a better version of myself. Today, I don't want to talk about the book in itself, but what I want to share with you is my 10 top tips for a strong start of 2025. I've been thinking a lot about what should I talk on this very first podcast episode of the year, and I had a list with a bunch of ideas, and this one was the winner, and it was for a reason, because I think this is the one that is going to pack the most tactical advice to help you and me thrive this 2025. So I have a lot of things to share, 10 in total. So this might be a 2-part episode. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. We'll see. Let's dive in directly to tip number 1 or strategy number 1, which is get clear on your vision. Let's talk about vision. Without a clear sense of where you're headed or a clear vision, it's easy to feel stuck, overwhelmed, or distracted. Having a vision is like having a compass. It helps guide your decisions, your actions, and your energy towards what truly matters. But here's the key. A vision isn't just about setting goals. We all think about new goals with the new year. But what I'm referring to here, it goes beyond setting goals. It's about imagining what your life feels like when you're living in alignment with your values, with your passions, with your priorities. And why does it matter? Think of your vision as your GPS in your life. When you have a clear destination, you can navigate detours and roadblocks and disruptions without losing sight of where you're going. Without one, you might end up working hard, but still feeling like you're not making progress in the areas that truly matter to you. That's why a vision is so important. And that's why it's tip number one. I think that is the foundation that we need to start with as we start the year. A clear vision of how we want this year to feel, how we want to feel this year, what we want to experience, what we want to achieve. What is our vision for 2025? Now, crafting your vision for 2025, the best way I think of how to do it is to take a moment to imagine that you're traveling in time and it's December 31st of 2025. And you're sitting down with your journal, reflecting on the year that is just finishing. And you're asking yourself questions like, what am I proud of? What does my day-to-day life look like? Who am I spending my time with? How do I feel emotionally, physically, spiritually? Now, get as specific. Don't just say, I want to be healthier. Instead, describe it as if you were writing a story, as you were writing this book of 2025. Maybe you say things like, I feel strong and energized because I've made regular exercise a habit and I'm cooking and eating whole, nourishing foods that I love. Or instead of saying, I want a better career, try, I've landed a role where I feel challenged and fulfilled and I'm learning and I'm leading a team that I love working with. You need to put detail to your vision. And it's easier to do that detail when you're traveling in time and looking back and describing what you want it to be than when you're looking forward and setting a goal. Like, I want to be healthier or I want to have a better career, right? When you set vague goals like that, your mind cannot visualize how that looks like, how your day-to-day looks like in order for you to achieve that goal. That's why having this clear, detailed vision is so critical. Now, let's talk about how to bring your vision to life. And I'm going to talk about, I think I wrote down 4 things maybe, that have worked for me when I'm trying to put this into action. Because here's the thing, a lot of people spend a lot of time at this time of the year setting goals, creating visions. Maybe if you're more visual, you even have done a vision board. I love vision boards, by the way. I have an episode towards the end of last year where I walk you through how to create your vision board. So if you're interested in going deeper into creating your vision for 2025, I really recommend checking out that episode. I even had a template that you can download to help you create your vision board, right? Where you find images and quotes and colors that represent your goals. And you create basically a collage of how you want your life to look like in 2025. So I've done that and I've spent a lot of time because I love to do it. But then it's how do you bring it to life, right? And the first thing is you need to write it down. There's something powerful about putting your vision on paper. Write it in present tense. This is super important, as if it has already happening or you are already living it. For example, I wake up every day excited about the work that I'm doing, or I feel confident in my body and connected to my loved ones. Or if you don't like to write it down, do that vision board we were talking about. Okay? So first tip is to write it down. The second tip I can give you is to break it down. Big visions sometimes can feel overwhelming. To make them actionable, it's important to break them down into smaller steps. So if your vision includes better health, maybe you start with a simple habit like drinking more water or walking daily. Or if you dream, going back to that career dream, right? You want a new career. Maybe you commit to updating your resume or scheduling some informal interviews, right? That's what I mean by breaking it down. The third thing is to anchor your vision with values. Your vision should reflect what matters most to you. If family, freedom, creativity, passion, whatever the career, whatever that is, are core values for you, you need to make sure that your goals align to those principles. And then the last thing is to revisit and refine. Your vision is not set in stone. Life evolves, and so should your goals. Set a monthly or quarterly check-in to assess your progress, to celebrate your wins, and to make adjustments as needed. Now, let me share with you some common pitfalls to avoid when you're creating and putting your vision into action. The first one, I already talked about this, is making it too vague. A vision that's too broad, like I want to be successful, lacks clarity. You need to be specific about what success looks like and feels like for you, not for anyone else, right? This is not about looking at what others are setting as goals and doing what everyone else is doing. You need to do what it looks and feels to you, and you need to be as specific about that. The second thing is focusing only on the achievement. This is something that I used to do all the time. When I would do my vision for the new year, I was always focused on the things that I wanted to achieve, period. A vision isn't just about accomplishments. Most importantly, is about how you want to feel and how you want to live your life this year. And the last pitfall to avoid is not revisiting it. A lot of people, they invest the time, this time of the year, to set the goals, to have a vision, and then they forget about it. It's like, okay, I've done it, check the box, move on, and keep going with life. And life will absorb you. The day-to-day will absorb you. There will be distractions, detours, challenges along the way that are going to set you, without you even knowing, in a different direction. And then you will find yourself getting to the end of 2025 and finding out that you're far away from where you want it to be. A vision only works if you keep it top of mind. That's why I love a vision board, because I have my vision board as the desktop of my computer. So every morning when I turn my computer on to start working, what do I see? My vision board. Consider posting yours somewhere visible, or maybe setting yourself reminders to review it regularly. If you didn't go the route of a vision board, but instead you wrote those things on your journal, set a reminder. Maybe every Sunday you look at them, or every Monday morning as you start your day, you look at them. But regularly revisit that vision. So here is my invitation for you. An action step that you can take today based on what you're learning today is, I want to invite you to spend an hour this week crafting your vision for 2025. Use journal prompts, create a vision board, or maybe you like to do a mind map of all your ideas. And once you have a clear picture, commit to revisit it every month so you can stay aligned but also inspired. I know for me, every time I look at my vision board, I feel inspired, because that life that I envisioned for myself inspires me. I want to have that life. Remember, your vision is more than a plan. It's kind of like a declaration of what you want for yourself and for your life. And when you're clear about where you're headed, you'll find that the choices, the opportunities are going to align with that path, are going to align with your vision. So that is the first strategy, or the first tip for a strong start of the year. Get clear on your vision. Let's move on to number 2, which is focus on the power of one. Let me explain what I mean by all of this. In a world that glorifies multitasking and hustling, it's easy to feel like you have to do everything all at once. But here's the truth. Trying to do too much often leads to burnout, to frustration, and to a sense of failure when you can't juggle it all. That's where the power of one comes in. Focusing on one key priority in each area of your life isn't about doing less, it's about doing the right things with intention and with purpose. So, what I'm talking about here is narrowing your focus. And by doing that, you free up mental energy. You're going to reduce overwhelm and you're going to make meaningful progress towards your goals. That's what I mean by focusing on the power of one. And why does focusing on one thing works? Well, first of all, clarity is purpose. When you concentrate in one priority, you eliminate distractions and you create a clear path forward. It's easier to say no to things that don't align with your goals when you know exactly where your focus should be or needs to be. It also increases momentum. Progress fuels motivation. When you see tangible results in one area, it creates this ripple effect, encouraging you to keep going. Also, by avoiding the temptations and overcommitting to things, you build habits and routines that are manageable and sustainable over time in the long term. Now, you might be asking yourself how to identify your priorities. This is something that I think we all struggle with, especially if you are like me, you're driven and you want to do all the things. It's really difficult to narrow it down to the one thing. But here's what has worked for me. Take a moment to reflect on the key areas of your life, your health, your career, your relationships, your personal growth, etc. Towards the end of last year, I did a series on Design Your Year challenge, and I talked about a tool called the Wheel of Life. If you missed that episode, I really recommend you go back because I explain how to use the Wheel of Life to assess yourself in the 8 key areas of your life. Those are the areas that I'm talking about right now. In that episode, there was also a downloadable template that walks you through that assessment. So here is how I use that Wheel of Life that we talked about a few episodes away here to identify my priorities. For each of those 8 areas in the Wheel of Life, I ask myself, what is the one thing that if I focus on it would create the biggest positive impact? I also ask myself, what's currently causing me the most stress or holding me back in this specific area? And the last question that I ask myself is, what feels most aligned with my values and my long-term vision in this area of my life? So think about asking these 3 questions for each of those areas of your life. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your relationships, maybe it's your personal growth. You go on, right? What is the one thing that if I focus on will create the biggest positive impact? What is currently causing me the most stress or holding me back? And what feels most aligned with my values and my long-term vision? For example, let's pick a few areas. My health. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire fitness and your diet routine like most people do, because you know that the most popular New Year goal that most people write down in their New Year intentions is to lose weight. And losing weight is very vague. Some people make it a little bit more specific, putting an amount of weight that they want to lose. Some people, once they set that goal, they try to change everything in their lives, their whole fitness routine, their whole diet. So instead of trying to overhaul everything at once, how about you focus on drinking more water every day, and walking 10,000 steps. That is something that is less stressful just to think about it, more doable. And once you start doing those things and do them consistently, it's going to create momentum. You're going to feel, I got this. And then you can add more things to your habits and your things to do to help you with that goal. For your career, rather than chasing multiple projects, maybe you commit to excelling at one initiative that will help you advance your role. Let's say your relationships. Maybe you just choose one relationship to nurture more intentionally, whether it is maybe scheduling a weekly date night with your partner or to have regular check-ins with a mentor, right? But you narrowed it down to maybe 1 to 3 people that you want to focus on when it comes to your relationships versus just saying, I want to nurture my relationships in 2025, right? Okay, let's break it down into actionable steps because that is so important. We talked about it when we talk about clarity around our vision, and it's the same here with our priorities. Once you've identified your priority, it's time to create a roadmap. Break it down into smaller, actionable steps that you can incorporate into your daily or weekly routines. For example, if your priority is improving your health, your steps might look like committing to a 30-minute workout 3 times a week, or meal prep on Sundays to ensure that healthy meals are ready for the week, or set a bedtime routine to improve your sleep quality. By focusing on one step at a time, you'll build consistency and momentum. When you're trying to implement 100 new habits at the same time, your system collapses, right? And here's the thing, why do we do that? Because we see other people that are doing 100 things, so we want to do 100 things. What you don't know is that they didn't start with 100 things. They started with 1, and then they built up. And when that want became part of their identity, because that's what happens when you really stay consistent with a habit. For me, for example, I don't write working out as a goal because it's so ingrained in my system, right? A day that I miss a workout, I feel like something is missing. I feel weird because it's part of who I am now. And it took me 4 or 5 years to get to this point. But now I don't even have to write that down because I know it's going to happen, right? I can focus on something else. So by now I've been compiling up habit after habit, and now I might have 100 habits, but I started with 1. So don't compare with other people. Just do what works for you, starting small with the one thing you can control and do. And once you have developed that habit, then continue to build more blocks on top of that. Now, one thing that I love to do with my priorities is to focus on quarterly priorities. It's so easy to lose sight of big goals as life gets busy, which is why breaking your year into quarters is so effective. Each quarter, you can choose one priority to focus on in each area of your life. For example, my Q1 health priority might be to establish a consistent working routine, and my Q1 career priority might be to complete a certification or a training. And my Q1 relationship priority might be to plan a family outing. And my Q1 family growth priority might be to build a morning journaling habit. Those are just examples, right? But this quarterly approach allows you to adjust and to refine your focus as you make progress or encounter new challenges. Now, like we did with the clarity of the vision, I want to talk about some common pitfalls to avoid. Number 1 is to try to do too much. It's always tempting to want to tackle everything at once. But remember, progress comes from focus. So resist that urge to overcommit. The second pitfall to avoid is getting stuck in planning. Don't let the planning your priorities replace the action. You need to identify your goal, map out your steps, and start small. 3 simple steps. And the last pitfall to avoid, maybe there's more, but the last one I'm going to mention is giving up too soon. What I've learned in my own life is that change takes time. You need to stay patient and consistent. It's very important to celebrate those small wins along the way to keep yourself motivated, but stay patient. What I've seen a lot of people do is that they give up on their goal, and what they didn't realize, they gave up because they did not see a change, right? They did not see the progress, and they quit, and they didn't knew that they were 2 steps away from the finish line. Be patient. And one way to stay patient and consistent that can help you stay motivated through that waiting period and that patience is to celebrate those small wins. So here's my call to action to you on this second tip. Take a moment this week to reflect on your priorities. Choose one key focus for this first quarter of the year in each area of your life. And write them down along with the small steps that you'll take towards each of them. And then commit to revisiting your progress regularly. Track what's working, what is not, adjust if something isn't working, and give yourself permission to focus deeply on the things that truly matter. By embracing the power of one, you'll find that your efforts become more intentional, your progress becomes more tangible, and your year is more aligned with the life that you want to create. Okay, I got really excited with these tips for a strong start of the year, and I didn't realize that I've been talking for almost half an hour. So I'm going to cover tip 3, and then we're going to leave the rest for a part 2, maybe even a part 3 of this 10 tips for a strong start for 2025. But before we wrap it up today, I want to go to tip number 3, establish daily routines. Routines are one of the most powerful tools you can use to simplify your life and to set yourself up for success. Routines take the guesswork out of your day, and they help you build consistency and make progress towards your goals without constantly relying on willpower or decision making. Doesn't that sound amazing to you? When that clicked in my mind, I became the number 1 fan of routines. That's why I have so many routines in my day. When you establish intentional daily routines, you create basically a framework that allows you to focus your energy on what matters most. These small automated actions, because that's what routines are, may seem insignificant when you look at them by themselves at first, but over time, they build momentum that lead to big results. And why do routines matter? Well, let me share 4 reasons why I think they matter. The first one is they reduce decision fatigue. We make countless decisions every day, and this constant decision making can drain our mental energy. Routines, what they do is that they simplify your day by automated essential tasks, leaving you with more bandwidth for bigger, more important decisions. That's why routines are so critical. The second reason I can think of is they build momentum through consistency. Progress isn't about giant leaps. It's about small, consistent steps. You have heard me say that over and over again here on the podcast. Routines ensure that you're taking those steps daily, even when motivation doesn't show up on the party. Because here's the thing. Some days you wake up and motivation doesn't wake up with you. And that's where routines really help you to continue to make progress. The third reason why I think they matter is because they create stability in unpredictable times. Life sometimes can be chaotic, but routines will always provide a sense of structure and stability. They ground you, helping you to feel more in control even when external circumstances shift. For me, my morning routine is not negotiable, no matter what is happening. Even when life gets chaotic, I go back to my morning routine because it really grounds me. It makes me feel that there is this one thing in my life when everything is chaotic that I can control, that I get to control, and grounds me and helps me to reduce my stress and to free up my mental capacity so I can tackle the challenges that are going on in my life at that point. The last reason I want to share why routines matter is because they are the glue that helps align your actions with your goals. When you have well-designed routines, that ensures that you dedicate the time to do the things that truly matter. Your health, your relationships, your personal growth, your careers, you name it. Your routines is the thing that helps you bring your vision and your goals into action. And not any action, but consistent action that is going to drive change. Now, that does require that you are very intentional on how you design those routines. So you help them be aligned and be the glue to your actions and your goals. How can we design these intentional daily routines? That would be the next question you might have. So let's talk about it. To create routines that work for you, you need to focus on 3 key areas: your morning, your midday, and your evening. That's the way I like to break down my routines. And I have morning routines, I have evening routines, and now I'm also introducing midday routines. And I know this can feel or sound overwhelming if you don't have any of these routines, but let me walk you through, right? Just for inspiration. Your morning routine. I believe your morning sets the tone for the day. So a thoughtful morning routine helps you start with intention and with energy. I'm not going to go deeply into morning routines because my next tip on this 10 tips for a strong start of 2025, I'm going to go deeper into this topic of morning routines, because from all my routines, personally, the one I think it's most impactful, and I think a lot of people share this perspective with me, is our morning routine. So we're going to have a tip just for morning routines. Let's talk about midday routines and evening routines. Midday routines help you recharge and stay productive during the busiest part of the day. And for me, a midday routine can look like taking breaks, staying away from work to reset, even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes. It looks like refocus my energy, like using techniques like breathing or mindfulness or a quick walk for clarity. It can look like checking in with yourself, like reflect on the progress that you've made so far during the day and made adjustments for the rest of the day. Or even just looking at your calendar, making a pause. Sometimes we go from one thing to the next and the day dictates our pace through the day. And sometimes during the midday break for me is having lunch and looking at my calendar for the second half of the day and kind of resetting my intentions and thinking about how do I want to show up for this second half of the day. So this midday routine can be a 5-minute thing, but something that helps you recharge and helps you refocus and stay productive for the remaining of the year, the day. Okay, and then we have evening routines. The evening routines for me are about unwinding, reflecting, and setting yourself for the success the next day. So some things to include in your evening routine might look like disconnect from screens, set like a digital sunset, they call it. It's like a time to wind down and prepare your mind for rest with no electronics. There is a rule somewhere there. I've learned it actually from Brendon Burchard. He uses the 3-2-1. 3 hours before going to bed, not eat anything. 2 hours before bed, stop working. And 1 hour before bed, disconnect from screens. And that can help you have a better night's sleep. And that is one of the purposes of having an evening routine, that you get to have a good night's sleep. So the next day you wake up refreshed and energized, right? Another thing you can consider for an evening routine is to reflect on your day. Maybe you journal about your wins or your lessons, or you review your goals. Those can be ideas to reflect at the end of the day. Another thing can be to prepare for tomorrow, like lay out your clothes or pack your bag or write down a to-do list to reduce the morning stress that we know can get the best of us sometimes in the mornings. And then one thing that I think is very important in evening routines, and I already mentioned it, is to prioritize sleep. So how can you create a calming, like bedtime ritual that signals your body that it's time to rest so you can have a better night's sleep? Now, the most important thing for you to take away from this section on routines is to remember that routines aren't one size fits all. The best routine is the one that fits seamlessly into your lifestyle and aligns with your goals, not mine, but yours. And the second thing I think it's most important with routines is to start small and build over time. If mornings are hectic, focus on just one or two habits, like drinking water and setting your intentions for the day, for example. If evenings feels rush, then start just with a 10-minute ritual before bed to help you get ready for bed. You need to adjust as you need. Life is going to change. That is something that we know for sure. We don't know how, but we know it's going to happen. And your routine should evolve and adjust to those changes in your life. Another thing that I think is very, very important, aside from tailoring your routines to your life, is to stay consistent with your routines. You need to anchor them to existing habits, like pair new habits with something that you're already doing. For example, meditate after brushing your teeth, or stretch while your coffee is brewing. Another thing you can do to stay consistent is to set reminders, like use alarms or apps or sticky notes to remind yourself about some of these habits that you're trying to build. And the last thing I would say, and I mentioned this before, is celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and reward yourself for sticking to your routines. That is going to help keep that momentum and help build that consistency. Okay, let's wrap up this section with some action steps. Here's my invitation for you, and I think by now you have discovered a pattern here. For every one of these strategies or tips, I'm always closing with an action step, an invitation for you to take action, because change will only happen if you do take action. So here's the action for this one. Take some time this week to write out a simple morning, midday, and evening routine. Start with just 2 or 3 small habits for each part of your day. Maybe you just pick one. Start small, right? And commit to following them consistently for the next 2 weeks. Once you've established your routines, then revisit them regularly, adjust what isn't working, and build on what you already have. By establishing these daily routines, you create a strong foundation for success. These seemingly small actions are going to compound over time. That is the beauty of routines and habits. And they're going to allow you to make steady progress towards your goals while you're living with greater ease and intention. Okay, we're going to stop right here, and we're going to pick it up on the next episode as we go through all of these 10 tips for a strong start of 2025. If this first tips you feel you got something out of them, I try to make them as pragmatic as possible and give you call to action so you can really take these things and implement them in your life. But if anything resonates and you're like, yes, I'm going to do this, do me a favor. 2 favors. 1, share it with a friend that can benefit from these tips. And 2, come back for the next part of this series as we talk about how to win your morning and some other things that are going to help you set yourself for an amazing 2025 ahead. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you on the next episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. Okay, my friend, that's all I've got for you today. But before you go, 2 quick reminders. Number 1, if we're not already friends on Instagram, let's get connected. You can find me as Leading Yourself Podcast. Number 2, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am incredibly grateful that you're in this journey with me. I want to leave you with one last thought. I want to remind you that you're destined for more and that every step that you take brings you closer to becoming that best version of yourself. Embrace each day as a chance to learn, grow, and chase your dreams. The world needs you to shine brightly, so go out and show up fully and authentically. Take care, and I'll see you next time.